What's up, YouTube? Adam Patterson. And you see the title of the video, guys? Being small hurts everybody. In business, it hurts you because you don't have economies of scale. And because of that, you hurt your customers. Now, in my business, freight and logistics, it's a very different world. There are such things as economies of scale when it comes to moving freight around the country, because when you go to negotiate contracts with LTL carriers, the more freight spend that you have in terms of how much LTL you actually move on a year-to-year basis, the more load count you have, the more money that you spend, the better rates you can negotiate for yourself, because they're willing to take less profit margin if you send them more volume. But when it comes to full truckload, it's not typical that you can have economies of scale, because it still is going to cost the same to move things. There's no re-warehousing, reworking a load, and most of the time you don't, how do I want to phrase this? You don't get a discount to move freight at high volumes with good carriers, because you want to pay for great service and you want your carriers to stay in business, which means that you want them to make money. You can't ask them to go at asinine low rates and expect them to also want to run your freight at high volumes. It doesn't make any sense. Why would they make less money for doing more work when they could make more money doing less work? You see what I'm saying? It makes sense when it comes to an LTL world because it's just one carrier. But for the most part, when you're transporting full truckload freight around, you're probably not going to work with only one carrier. Economies of scale doesn't really work, which means that the small guy and the big guy are pretty much on the same playing field when it comes to full truckload. The difference is when it comes to LTL, economies of scale does kick in. When it comes to warehousing and how many pallets you're going to put into a warehouse, economies of scale does kick in. People want volume. People want to get paid. People want consistency. If you have volume and consistency, carriers will choose that and give you discounts. And that does happen in a full truckload realm as well. If you have a singular lane that runs 1,000 times and you have a carrier who can pick up all 1,000 of them, you can negotiate something. As long as it keeps them busy, it keeps them profitable. The rates still have to be profitable for everybody, but you can negotiate through economies of scale, through volume, through data. And being small hurts your customers. If you want to take over a region and you move this lane from Atlanta, Georgia, over down to Jacksonville, Florida, and you also have a lane that goes from Atlanta, Georgia, over to California, and you control all of this Atlanta, Georgia area, economies of scale is going to work out in your favor, because maybe a carrier will take a loss for you to do this lane as long as you send them over here and you pay them very, very hefty. And that helps everybody, because if a current client needs to keep their customer's price low because they will go to somebody else, but they're willing to pay you more over here, not only do they stay profitable and keep that business here and everything for you, but you have now used your economies of scale. You're making money over here and you're making money over here because a carrier was willing to help you out, because you have the scale, because you control that area. And that is the game. You help everybody by being big. When you force growth, you help your customers. When you take more market share, you help your customers, because you can develop relationships that are more than a win-win scenario. It'll be a win-win-win. It'll be the carrier wins, you win, your customer wins, their customer wins, and everything wins. And then it's this big giant circle of, this is going really well right now, let's keep this going. And that is the game. That is why you push for scale. Being small and staying small only helps you. It is incredibly selfish to be small in business. When you only build your company that you are profitable and that you can have your freedom in life and that you can do whatever you want to, it is extremely selfish. It does not help your customers, even though you may provide a great service. You are not helping them over time. You do not have their best interests at heart, because you are opting to stay small. You don't want to put the work in to grow. You don't want to put the work in to actually help them when it's going to come down to it. Being small hurts everybody. It will hurt you eventually, because your customers will leave for someone who has their best interests at heart. And you do not, if you want to stay small. If you want to stay a one-man operation, you want to do all the work by yourself, it'll work for you. It'll work. It'll get you 10, it'll get you 15, 20 years, relationships when people actually count on them. But if that company is growing or their management wants to grow and your contact leaves, all of a sudden they're going to go, okay, well, what other options do we have? And then you are going to lose to your bigger competitor. The only thing that you can do in business is stay in business, stay healthy, and continue to help your customers over time is to grow. You need to be big. Stop hurting your customers.